welcome everybody. And let's start with identifying who is here. We have our trusted clerk, Allison Sturgeon. We have Tom Roy, our town engineer. We have Tony Piazza, our superintendent. We have Dr. Park. We have Tom Hickey. We have Lucian Dragolsky, Jacques Brignac, Jay Sheehan, although we cannot see Jay, so he might only be by phone.
Witness protection.
Witness protection. Okay. All right. So he probably hasn't shaved in 3 weeks, and he doesn't want to let us know that. Otherwise, I think we're all good to go and ready to start. Thank you all for being here. I hope everyone has remained healthy and in good spirits. We've been in this pandemic mode for a year now, and so it's shots are starting to be administered and everything, and that's a very good thing. So let's start with our safety brief. I'm going to give what may seem like an odd safety brief, and because it doesn't have to do with something that's necessarily practical around your home or in and around town, which is what I generally have a safety brief about when we're not talking about just our specific facility. But I got my first COVID test, vaccination shot this past Sunday. And I was at a place where they obviously want to observe you right after that for like 15 minutes to make sure you're not going to have any really serious side effects right away. And the waiting area that this place had composed for all of the recipients of shots violated social distancing, the protocol. They wanted people to be, they had people like within 4 feet of each other, and they wanted them to be there for 15 minutes. And so just be mindful that every place that is set to administer the vaccine, which in fact administers them, might not be following the appropriate protocol. And so I just basically said, well, I did remark upon it to them. I said, I'm going to be like standing over there for 15 minutes. I'm not going to leave. You can observe me. But, so just be mindful that, and, I think in this time, and this is a longer brief that maybe is not so brief now, it's now a safety talk, that we're in the home stretch kind of, and people are getting weary of, the social distancing, the mask wearing and all that, now is the time to like double down and be extra vigilant so that we can just, get rid of this thing. And so just, I would encourage you to just keep your guard up, keep doing the things that are necessary and proper to keep yourself safe and to keep those around you safe, so that we can all live happy, healthy, and productive lives. Okay, that being said, let's move to item number 2 on the agenda. Receiving septic from other towns. I noticed from reviewing the correspondence that there are a number of towns that septic haulers are seeking to deposit with us that are actually outside of the state of Connecticut. So I looked at our code, and our code basically, and we remarked upon our code before, that it specifies the towns where we can receive septic from as being Simsbury, Avon, or Granby, or such other towns as may be designated by the authority and is not considered harmful. So it doesn't say that the other towns have to be from within the state of Connecticut. It has these three specific towns. And I think the reason these three specific towns are listed is that those are the ones that are the parties to a contract with respect to the operation and maintenance of our facility. Those are the three participating towns with respect to the facility. And I think so. I think that is the fundamental reason as to why we have that, if I'm not mistaken. And I am not aware of whether there's any state law or state regulation relating to either to transportation or disposal in Connecticut of septic that originates outside of the state. I don't know. I did a quick search on Westlaw earlier today, and I didn't find anything with respect to that. But I didn't have time to do any kind of an exhaustive search, and so I don't know whether Tony or Tom or anyone else, any member here, is aware of whether or not there is any statute or regulation that would prohibit us from accepting septage from outside of the state, be it either directly as a prohibition on such acceptance, or there being a prohibition maybe on the transportation of septage. So from outside of the state. So I'll kind of open up to the floor to see if anyone has anything to remark upon that for our edification.
Just as far as the state law goes, I don't know of anything, but I can check into that as well. I know there's all sorts of requirements as far as if there's any land application or anything like that, but I don't know of anything that's prohibitive from going to a treatment plant. Just so you guys know, we went back and looked at our last year of septage receipts, and about 40% of our septage actually comes from other towns besides Avon, Granby, and Simsbury, and about 7% comes from out of state.
Okay.
And I think, we had a little chance, Tony and I, to talk about this today. And I think, we certainly have a responsibility to know where it's coming from. And I think it's something that this is a great opportunity to kind of tighten that up. And as Paul, you mentioned, Simsbury, Granby, and Avon are parties to the original agreement. One of the thoughts that we had is that taking septage is a great service to our community that the WPCA does. But at the same time, we want to, wherever we can, encourage people to eventually connect to our system. So I think one of the things is, where do we set the pricing for our septage? And I think that's an interesting discussion to have. And also, should we have a discount for Simsbury, Granby, and Avon in a different fee from these other communities if this board chooses to continue to accept septage from other communities?
What's the impact on the capacity of the plant?
I'm sorry, what was that, Lucian?
What's the impact, the capacity of the plant?
Minimal. We're looking at probably over a 9-month period, you're looking at 250,000 gallons.
So here's my general thought about this.
2 million gallons
Okay.
over a 9-month period, 2 million gallons.
All right. So since we don't have any capacity constraints that this septic would impact, my general thoughts, being someone who is a believer in, the free enterprise system, and to let businesses figure out how to be most efficiently run themselves, and knowing that a lot of these septic haulers, they're relatively small businesses They're trying to be economically efficient in how they go about generating revenue, maximizing revenue, minimizing costs and expenses, so that they can be, productive economically, provide for themselves, their families, provide a service. And my general thought is that we want to enable them to maximize their efficiencies. And so it would be my view personally to let septic come from, any town that really a hauler wants to bring it in from, because I think they're going to be motivated economically to be efficient. And I'm also mindful of our carbon footprint, and when I think about one of those haulers saying, well, the NDC, it's a 40 some odd mile round trip, which causes a greater expenditure, of fuel and so on and so forth. And all right, well, so that's, impacting the environment too. If we are a shorter distance for them, and they don't have to put in as many miles in their vehicles, they're not polluting as much. And so, I just don't see a downside to letting these companies make the decision that we are the best suited place for them to dispose of their septic. So that's at least my thoughts on it. And I certainly, have no pride of authorship or of thought, or maybe a little bit on the thought side, but I'm welcome to hear any and all viewpoints and counterpoints, so that we can fully vet this and come about to an agreement as to how we think we should proceed.
We heard from Tony about the capacity, 2 million gallons. What kind of economic advantage is there? Because I'm having a hard time with it.
Allison, can you know what we billed out last month off the top of your head?
Month. It was kind of a slow month. I want to say only 4 haulers were billed, and it was probably price wise about $20,000.
But we normally average around 70,000, at least $70,000 to $100,000 a month.
It's about $500,000 a year.
And we have not raised our septic haulers rates in at least 8 years. So that may be something and we're coming up next month for discussion on our rates and things. So that may be something we bring up next month.
So what I'd ask Tony is if you could take a look at the surrounding communities that do accept septic before the next month, and just kind of do a survey, just easy, not, you don't have to go crazy, but if there's 3 or so we know where we are benchmarking against the others. But a lot of times septic causes problems on not as much the volume for capacity of plants, but on the loadings, because it's really high BOD, it's really high in some of the chemical constituents. There's some grit and some things, but since our plant's so flexible, it's a carousel plant, and it doesn't affect our process. I think it's a great revenue stream, and I think for $500,000 a year, that's a pretty good service to the users.
Yeah, Jay. So you're asking for what the other communities are charging? Or
yeah, okay. What they're charging there for septic if they take it. So I don't know if Canton does or Farmington or wherever, but it'd be great to just know where we are. Are we way below? Because what happens is when we do raise our rates, they will go somewhere else. We may want that. We may not want that. So it'd be good to just have the benchmark.
Okay.
Tony, do you see any potential downsides at all to accepting all this?
Actually, I'm changing the pumps out that handle that at this point in time, because they've always had issues with the pumps handling the grit that's in the septic. So we're actually in the process of changing those out right now. We're going to be getting one hopefully this week. Other than that, no, like Jay said, the it's actually good for us because we're limited as far as nutrients coming into the plant, because we don't really have any real industrial loads. So it actually helps our system having the food source.
I think, again, it financially, I think we can dig a little deeper into the analysis, but I think, everything is supporting the fact that it's very beneficial to the plant in terms of, it's essentially a quarter of our operating budget.
And I think, and personally, I do believe, like Tom mentioned before, is, potentially charging anybody that's not in the Avon, Granby, Simsbury loop a little more to dump here because they have other places that they can go. And we're convenient.
And you can even kind of flip the conversation on that a little bit. Maybe it's not so much that we charge anybody anymore, but maybe we give a discount to residents of Simsbury, Avon, and Granby. And again, it's because we're part of the community and we're serving this community as well as the region.
But how will the residents see the discount? The truck comes and takes the waste from our septic, and it will be a different charge, or
Well, it wouldn't be anything with us. We would charge the septic hauler less if we went that route. If we chose to give a discount, so to say.
See, that's the thing. So
it would be
doesn't
whatever
make-
the septic hauler does. So it's all on a septic hauler.
So maybe it doesn't make a difference for the residents at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's
As
probably,
so
I
many things. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
mean, the hauler is probably just charging a price per gallon or whatever, right? I mean, no matter what town they're picking up in. So, and they're probably, I mean, these people probably are advertising on the internet, maybe have coupons or whatever, but they probably aren't charging a different price depending on the town from which it's coming. Be my guess. But I mean, I don't know. I haven't researched it.
Yeah, I think it would depend upon the hauler and, like you were saying, the travel distance and everything else. The only reason I would offer up potentially the discount is I think it's similar to things like in town. The town does a lot of work to try and manage and lower the disposal rate for trash. Although as residents, you may not appreciate and see that because you're going through a third party for your trash collection, but it's something that we do to help our residents.
And at the very least, it incentivizes them to prioritize Simsbury residents over other customers because they have more of a profit there. So,
and potentially between both the shorter haul distance, saving on trucking cost, and a slightly lower disposal cost, it may reflect in offering Simsbury residents a better rate. But again, I think we want to have the septage priced at a reasonable price because I also, wherever possible, want to encourage people to hook up to our system.
Okay. So, I mean, that depends on just knowing what our competitors are charging.
Yep. And there's only a few, so it won't be too much of a lift.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, it's a little market research. And then we can decide the extent to which we want to adjust price, if at all. Okay. All right. Let's see. Does anybody else want to be heard about this issue? No? Okay. So, Jacques, you're concerned more about capacity or conceptually wanting things to be more limited to the town with which we have an agreement or what?
I don't think it's capacity based on the 2 million. I just don't necessarily trust that their little ticket that they fill out is accurate to what they're hauling.
Oh, I cannot dispute that, Jacques. One of the things we're looking at installing is a septic receiving station. It has a flow meter in it to actually tell us exactly the quantity they're dumping. That's just one of those back burner items because no one in Connecticut really has one yet. That's does everything we want it to do. So it's hard to go and actually look at one. But that is something that we want to do as far as that is to better track it, because we are trusting what they're writing down for numbers.
Okay, but Jock, is your question, your concern is not necessarily just numbers, but the quality of the content, that it may have harmful material?
Yes.
I see.
No,
And
we-
now that we know that it's financially advantageous to, I didn't know that before. So that brings a whole new light on the issue. It behooves us financially to accept it. But I still have a problem with going outside the boundaries unless we give a real good discount to the local.
Do we test the septic before they deposit it?
Not usually. We have the right to actually test every hauler that comes in. It's very cumbersome sometimes to try to do that, because we end up, sometimes we'll have 30 trucks in a day that come in and out. And in all honesty, all you're going to do is check for pH and just like do a visual inspection of it. We actually, in the 7 years I've been here, we had one toxic incident, and we did trace it back to a hauler. But again, it's few and far between, and usually it's a random thing. And like Jay said, the plant that we have is very forgiving. So any real slug is not going to damage us permit wise. But we do have the right to test anything that comes into the plant.
Okay. Well, the code requires us to actually designate the towns as to which we will accept. And do we have a comprehensive list composed of what towns we should be considering for as accepting?
If you give me 1 second, I will do that for you right now.
Just a quick question in terms of administration of this, and understanding that, you know, in many ways the plant it doesn't matter to the plant if the waste is coming from East Granby or East Granby or Windsor Locks. So would it make sense to authorize the plant to receive septic from any place within, 30 miles or 40 miles of the plant, or something more of a broad brush, so we don't end up having a community that we miss?
I thought about that too. And the code requires us to say such other towns as may be designated by the authority. So what does it mean to designate a town? That to me bespeaks something than just saying any and all towns.
Yeah.
It's
I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought, Paul, but I was thinking a good way to do it is if we had a motion to accept septic from the communities in Hartford County. And then we have, some limits of where it's coming from, but it's broad enough that if someone's picking up septic one day in Simsbury and they drive up to Granby and get some more, they're still able to go to our facility.
all right. So you're thinking all towns within Hartford County?
Just a thought.
Okay.
I don't know if anything comes from Litchfield, like, from Torrington or anything like that, Tony.
There are some from Litchfield County.
But were we also talking about out of state
Yeah, and there's
towns?
four towns from out of state.
Yeah.
Are they all within the same county in Massachusetts?
I'm not sure. You're looking at Southwick, Granville, Tolland, Mass, and I think West Suffield, right? Or no, West Suffield is up in Suffield, West Suffield. Never mind. So yeah, 3.
3.
Granville, Southwick, and Tolland, Mass.
Tony, do you
There's-
have,
Westfield and Feeding Hills. Those are in Massachusetts as
Oh,
well.
did I miss those ones? I'm sorry. Westfield and Feeding Hills.
Tony, do you get any sort of advanced warning, or do these trucks typically just show up?
They just show up.
Okay.
I mean, bottom line is we're getting the stuff anyways, and we've been getting it for years.
Right.
It's almost like it's going to be like a fait accompli, right? I mean, how are we going to really kind of stop it? I mean, we'd have to say, oh, well, I guess do we look and check before we accept the septage where it's coming from? Are we actually
do not.
taking that step? We do not. right?
We do not.
So, and that might be administratively burdensome to do that. And then, so in theory, you got a truck that has a tank that's been to 30 different properties or whatever, or I don't know how many properties can be serviced in one load. But, once it's in, it's all like kind of fungible and mixed in there. And so, I mean, you really can't say, this gallon came from one place versus another. So, I just, get back to, it's these people are trying to run businesses efficiently and provide.
And to your Paul point too, if we've already been accepting this, the other way to look at it is any towns we're eliminating moving forward is a loss on that potential $500,000 revenue stream.
Yep. Right. So my thought would be, I like Jay's thought.
So
We
I'm-
do get,
Yeah, can I amend? I didn't make a motion, but the motion that we could make, if we're ready for one, I'd like to say that to make a motion that we accept septage from Hampden County, Massachusetts, Litchfield and Hartford counties in Connecticut at the plant, and allow any communities from there, and that it covers any communities that you guys have mentioned tonight.
all right, have you so moved?
Yes.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Lucian Podolsky has seconded the motion. Any discussion?
Are we going to discuss the potential discount? Or did we determine that we can't give a discount?
We would discuss that next month when we set the rates.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing no desire for further discussion. So if all in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. And Jay, I recognize your voice.
Aye.
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 Okay, so we have a unanimous decision to approve the motion, and the motion carries. Great. Sewer lien discussion and possible action. It's the next item on the agenda.
This was something that was found on by accident by reading some minutes from another sewer plant, that I found out by state statute that any lien that is older than 15 years old is unenforceable. Currently, we have one lien that was taken out in September of 1980. The original amount was $1,500. They currently owe the town $13,000. But in the state statute, if you give me 1 second, I can pull it up, is chapter 205, section 12-175. And I can read it real quick here. If I find it. Any tax lien upon a private property which has been recorded in the land records of any town for more than 15 years from the date of the tax shall be invalid. Any property shall be free from encumbrance of such lien unless action of foreclosure has been commenced during such 15-year period.
That's for tax lien.
And well, it is, the sewer is a tax lien as far as the state government is concerned. This, in the past, and I don't know if the board was aware of it or not. I talked to Colleen O'Connor, who is the tax collector in town, and she said in the past there was several that her and Rich Sawitsky had waived off in the past. I don't know how many that was, but like I said, currently there is only one that is outstanding. And if we want to and we don't have to take any action on this tonight, we can do more research on it, which I think is the prudent thing to do. But I wanted to get it to your attention since it was something that came to light just recently.
Okay, so how many other liens? Do we have any liens that are approaching that age?
Right now, there's a total of 5 delinquent liens. And only one other one is due within, I think, in 5 years. So that's the next closest one.
Okay. All right.
But like I said, I think I'll do some more research on this for next month's meeting, and have some better understanding of what is actually uncovered by this.
Okay, so because this was that lien stemmed from what? An assessment?
An assessment, correct. And it does not affect any deferred assessments. It's only when the lien actually gets placed on the property.
But all in all, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, none of us are happy to discover this, and I think it's good that we're bringing it, right away to your attention. But overall, in terms of the total dollar value of liability that we're currently looking at, because this is only on the actual liens placed, not on the deferred assessments, relatively small dollar value.
Correct. I think Colleen said she said there was 10 of them that the last time they did it that were delinquent, that they erased, and they were all for the original assessment was a $300 assessment or a $500 assessment. So it wasn't like it was a more recently where you have a $19,000 assessment on a property. It was all from the 1980 installation of the sewers where they just never paid them.
Well, and I think what we'll have to do is make sure that we fully understand that this does apply, as you said, to not just to tax liens, but to our sanitary sewer liens, and also to see whether or not there would be some sort of mechanism or provision to essentially renew or re-up as we start to approach that date. And I would look to see if there was any other specific questions so that we can come back kind of with a fully vetted discussion, either at the next meeting or the meeting thereafter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If we're approaching that, what action do we take at that point? If we can renew what do we do really?
What options are out there? Exactly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So how did this come to our attention?
I was actually part of the sewer board meeting for Bristol, and it came up there. But they referenced the sewer statute, and I'm like, there's nothing in the sewer statute that says that you waive. So I did a little bit more research on it, and this is how it came about.
All right. So, and this property has been owned by the same people since 1980?
Correct.
And they're not looking to sell it right now at all?
I couldn't tell you, Paul.
All right, so there've been nothing like that has come up like in terms of like someone's saying this lien somehow impairs our ability to sell. It's a cloud on our title.
Nope, no,
Can't be
I
enforced
actually,
or anything like that.
I asked the tax collector to run me a list of all the delinquent liens. And this is the only one that's older than 15 years.
Okay, so how many delinquent liens do we have?
Right now, 5.
Those are the only delinquent ones.
Correct.
Okay. And what have we done, if anything, to try and get the property owner to cure the delinquency?
The tax office sends out letters. It all comes
Okay.
from the tax office.
It does? Okay. All right. All right, so I guess maybe at some point in time, we should discuss whether or not, well, let me ask you, in terms of enforcing these liens, is that a decision that's made by a body other than us? Like, does some other body of the town decide that we want to collect this? Or is that something that's within our purview that if we don't do it, nobody does it?
I think that's part of our fact finding. We do at times go after delinquent property owners. Never something the town's looking to do, but at the same time, we have a responsibility to collect the money that's owed to us. I think we would certainly look to make a recommendation that for these 5 delinquent liens, we would want to make sure that whatever remedies are available are put into place. And I can discuss that with both the town manager and the tax collector. And again, that can be part of our report back on this issue as to what, if they would be looking for a motion from this body to say, we certainly want to take all reasonable actions, or if this body was to deliberate and say if it was less than X dollars, it's not worth chasing. Again, that would be a decision.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So I don't think any action needs to be taken presently unless anybody else thinks otherwise or has anything further to remark about it. Okay. Let's move to the next item on the agenda, status report on sewer extension projects. Tony?
The only real update is for Woodland Street. Tom and I had a design meeting today with the engineer who's designing the project. They're hoping to have the final design to us within the next couple of weeks. After we get that, we will forward that to the state for their approval, and hopefully bidding will come shortly thereafter. So our best case scenario is probably early May bid time for this project. And then right now, and hopefully we get it out because right now the construction rates are very favorable.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about Tony's status report? All right. Seeing none, let's move to the next item on the agenda, number 5, treatment facility report.
We finished all the major PLC upgrades for the buildings. We have because we did all this installation ourselves, we actually still have a lot of funds left in the account. So there's still 4 other smaller PLCs for the belt filter press system and an odor control system that are getting to the end of their life. So we're going to actually use that money and replace those PLCs too. And we'll still have a lot of money left in that account, which is good. So that'll just go back into our reserve fund. We're still working with AECom on the water pollution control plan and facilities plan. Secondary clarifier laundry covers was put out to bid 2 weeks ago. The closing date is on March 25th. We got another vendor coming in tomorrow for, I think we'll have 4 total vendors that have come in to take a look at the project, which is very good. Usually there's only 1 or 2. We've actually, for a miscellaneous industrial users permit, we've sent out to all the businesses in the town of Simsbury that have to register. We've been getting a little back, not a lot of calls on it, but not a lot of returned registration forms. I sent an initial list to Avon to ask for their guidance for some clarification on some of the businesses in their town. Once we get that back, then we'll be working with Granby to try to get theirs done. One thing that's not on here, our inspector, Jim Corley, actually resigned. His last day was last week. He's moved on to Preston, Connecticut, and is going to be working with the Public Works Department in Preston. We did interviews for our 2 open operator positions. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have 2 new hires for our operators. And then we'll be doing a candidate search for the open inspector's position after that.
Okay.
Just one comment on the engineering inspector position. We have not advertised that just yet. We have some changes that we're going to make in the job description to potentially make it a little bit more flexible. And we may also look to make some modifications that may make it easier for somebody else within the treatment plant or within the town to potentially transfer into that job, so it would become a stepping stone. Good or bad, one of the things that was great about the previous person in that position, he truly worked his way up. He was also taking courses at the college level to help develop and grow. And as much as it's never easy to see an employee leave the town, he's leaving because of a much better opportunity that, he was very appreciative, I think, of some of the experience we'd been able to give him. So.
Way of the world.
Yeah, no, and I think, like I said, if we can find a way to make the job description allow for growth of existing employees, I think there's some real benefits there.
Yeah, oh, that makes sense. We definitely want to be a place that can build people up and help them grow and prosper.
Exactly right.
Okay. Any other remarks about this report? No. Okay. Let's move on to item number 6, correspondence. It looked to me like all of the correspondence was from Septic Haulers and relating to the towns from which they could bring septage to us. Am I missing something, or am I correctly interpreting that?
You are correct, Paul.
Okay. So then let's move to item number 7. February meeting minutes and possible approval. Does anyone have any remarks about the meeting minutes? All right, so seeing no remarks or hearing no remarks, I would ask if anyone wants to make a motion with respect to the minutes of the February meeting of the Water Pollution Control Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there hasn't actually been, I didn't actually suggest approval or not approval, so I think we're going to need a different motion.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from our prior meeting.
Okay,
And a second.
all right. Does anyone wish to discuss the pending motion? Seeing no desire for discussion, Let's put it to a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand and audibilize.
Aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. So then the motion, the minutes carry, the motion is approved, and the meetings have been accepted. Very well. So that gets us to the last item on the agenda, which is an adjournment. Before that, I'll just ask, is there any other business that anyone would like to discuss at this moment in time?
Just some information. I believe you guys all saw the email I sent out last week or so. The town actually did sell the bond for the Clean Water Fund loan. We got a ridiculously low rate of 0.31%. And it actually ended up saving us just under $400,000 over the remaining 7 years that we're paying off the new bond rate. So it was a good thing for us.
All right. That's good.
It takes you a second to even get your head around the 0.31 rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exactly what we get on the credit card.
Right. Okay, so that's good. All right, so anyone looking to move to adjourn, or are we just going to hang around for a while?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
all right. I'm going to venture to say no one wants to have discussion on the motion, so I'm just going to put it to